Page 66, Waltz Opus 64, number 2. Again, there's all kinds of recordings of this all over if you want an idea what it sounds like, but you have to be careful. You need to listen to several recordings because different people will interpret this completely differently. It's interesting. Let's just stick with what this arrangement is doing. At the beginning in the right hand, the melody is the top note. That's what we want to hear. See the slurs? Other editions, other arrangements will slur it differently. Let's just do what this arrangement is doing for now. I'll change things a little bit later. Oh, by the way, at this top, I disagree with playing this A twice. I suggest you draw in a little tie between the quarter note A and the dotted half note A at the beginning. So you're just adding the F to it. Like so, because the melody is that. Third line down. Watch the fingering for the third measure on the eighth notes. Watch this. I want to talk about this. This is the third measure, the third line down on the eighth notes. There got you doing 2, 2. I like the 2, 3 on the B flats, but I don't like this because you're playing all those A's with the same finger. So I'm recommending for the eighth notes, instead of a 2, you do a 1, 2, and then a 3. And for the next line, it's a 1, 2, and it's going to be a 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And then for the A, it's a 5, 4. And then it's a 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. It's just 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2 all the way down to the end, or to the second measure on page 67. So it's like so. So all I'm doing is I'm just using 2 and 3 on this sequence, going up and then going down. And I suggest you change the slurring so it's not all slurred together like they're showing, but slur it every 2 notes so we hear that B-ump, 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 B-ump thing. So the last line on page 66, slur every 2 notes. And then at the top of page 67, connect the B flat with the next notes. You're not ending a slur here. It needs to lead in, it needs to flow into it. Connect it here. That's what I'm recommending you do it, that way. And then the third line down on 67 is similar to what we've already had. Again, it's a 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Now they're doing it, and I still do this in 2-note slurs. And again, 2, 1, 2, 3. At the bottom of page 67, fingering. Their fingering is fine. I find it a little, so I'm going to suggest once you cross over to the 2, stay there. So the G is now a 3 and a 4, 5. I don't know why you need a thumb on that G again, because the third finger's there, just use it. That's what I recommend. On the top of page 69, don't let I'll come back to the tempo thing. Let's just get the notes here first. Well, I want to finger this legato. Fourth finger, watch these notes. And it's a sequence going down. Watch the second line. Going into the second measure, it's 5, 4, 5. And for the next measure, I recommend a scrunch up and do a 2 on the G sharp. And reach out for the fourth finger. thumb, because they got you doing this. That doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. This is rather quick, and I don't like this thumb, 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 thumb thing when it's quick. If it were slow, we could get away with this, but I need a fingering that works for a quick tempo. And so I'm recommending for that measure, this is the last measure, the second line, it's a 2, 3, 4. Just reach up with 4. And then a thumb. I'm only crossing the thumb one time. Here, and then the sequence again, going back down. Now their fingering in the last line is fine except for the end of the third measure. I want to change that just a little bit. So you're starting out here and just follow their fingering, going up. Third, watch these accidentals. They're not quite what you think they are. Thumb, now here. Thumb, I'm going to do a 2 on the G sharp, 3, and reach up for the D. I don't need that thumb on the, I want to eliminate some of these thumb crossings if I can, especially when it's fast. And that's fine. That works. And then you lift up and come back down. And repeat that page. Isn't that fun? Let's go on to page 69. We changed key signatures here. Now we're in 2 sharps. And this is a contrast to what we've had before. This is going to be legato and smooth and calm down a little bit. So just play it, it's fine. Second line there, when you put a second finger on the G sharp, you can use third here because you got 2 rests to move up if you want. Or if you want to feel it, then put thumb on it because that's an octave. So you just stay there for a couple beats and then you come up here. And their fingering is fine. Page 70 at the top here. Same as what we had, except now we're starting to get into a little of this ornamental type stuff that Chopin was so famous for, and he wrote a lot of these in, and that's really all this is. These eighth notes are sort of an ornamental type flourish to the piece. It's like improvising, except it's written out for you. So it's the second line on these eighth notes. All of that is just a flourish because we want something to that effect, and he just sticks all this in. The trick is you got to make it sound like an improvised thing. We'll come back to that, maybe. And then we go on, the third line. Again, this is just like an improvising thing. Let's go down to the bottom of the page. You're here. And the fingering I recommend here, I mean you use your fingering if you want, but I like this. Fourth finger on the G sharp. 3 on the D, and you're in position. Here. All I'm doing is I'm not using the thumb so much. That's all it is. So it's here. And then at 71, we're back to this pattern we had before. Key signature changed, 1 flat now. Then at the last measure, the second line, again, we got that pattern. I recommend the fingering here. Let's go with the measure before it. So this is the third measure, the second line, you're here. And I recommend it scrunch up and do a 2 on the G sharp. 3, 4, 1. It's the same fingering I used before. Now, at the bottom of page 71, on this run going up, we've had this before. Same note, same thing. And I gave you a fingering for it, 1 fingering. You can use the one in the book. I'll give you another fingering you can think about too on this. And you decide the fingering you want, and then you do them both the same. It's up to you on what you're doing. So starting with the first measure is fine, just like now, in the second measure on the C, instead of a thumb, I'm going to use third finger and then cross over with the thumb. 2 on the E natural, the third measure, it's an E natural. It is an E natural. The flat from the previous measure is only good for that measure. So this is an E natural. And then a thumb, 2, 1. So and then a 2, 3, 5 here. That's another fingering you can try, and you experiment. You have to pencil in the fingerings and you experiment with them and kind of get comfortable with the notes so you can speed it up a little bit, because you need to be able to play this quickly, not fast, just quickly. So you have to decide on and find the fingering, and once you decide on it, stick with it, whatever it is. And you're diminuing, you're getting softer here, all the way down to a soft as you go up. You're not slowing down, you're just dying away as you get up. Takes a little practice on that part. I didn't talk about dynamics. Let's go back and talk about dynamics, and we'll add the pedal in to help make this video a little shorter. It starts out, it says tempo gusto. Gusto means fun. To me, that's like an allegretto. It's not a fast, it's not something you play at a funeral. Although I've heard people play this like they were at a funeral, where they would just... It's like... I don't think that's what he really meant, and tempo gusto is more like fun type thing. You know, it's a more of a fun thing. You got to learn it first, and you can have fun later. First things first. So, at the beginning, we're going to go ahead and legato pedal the first two measures, but we're not pedaling, we want to hear that kind of thing. So be careful there. It's medium loud, but that's the melody. Everything else has to be softer than that. I lift the pedal when I lift the right hand. I don't know. I don't know why you're pedaling at the end of the first line. You don't need it. I don't need to pedal there at all. But the pedal at the end, or the second line, the end of the first measure, I pedal that because I want to connect the D's. So I had to do that. And again, I don't know why I'm pedaling. Unless I want to just reinforce that, but I don't need it. But on the third line, going into the second measure, I got to pedal that because I want to connect the B flats. This. And I lift up on the third beat, and I don't pedal this. I want to hear that. I want to hear that. Again, last measure, I don't pedal the third beat, and I don't pedal any of the last line on page 66. I want to hear the two-note slurs. And then back to what we were doing at the top of page 67, but this is soft. Not very soft, just soft. Same thing what you had, but when I get on the third line of these, I don't pedal those. I want to hear two-note slurs in there. So look out on the third line in the left hand. It's tricky here. 2, 1, so we can have legato. 3, and then on the G flat it's a 5, and then a 4. Again, it's just legato. You can slide off if you want. Because we can't rely on the pedal here, especially if we put in the two-note slurs with the pedal. So legato with the left hand is slow. I don't pedal that beat, and I don't pedal the next measure. You can pedal the first two beats and the third measure. to reinforce, but then lift up here and don't pedal the next measure. Then here for the 2 beats and then lift up. And you pedal the last. I wouldn't pedal the last beat in that last measure. We want to hear. When it comes, we want to hear that, so don't let the pedal cover that up. Now at the top of page 68, the tempo changes here. Più, mosso, legatissimo. Più is with, and mosso is more. Legatissimo is quick, light stuff. In other words, we're going to speed it up. So this part is light and sped up here. And we're only pedaling the first beat of the measure again. We're back to this waltz type pedaling. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So first you learn it slow and then you gradually speed it up. And you can do that on your own. I don't feel, you'll find recordings of this. Don't get carried away. This isn't where, look how fast I can play it. Stay within the this is not a fast waltz, it's a fun waltz. And this part is just kind of playful. So make it kind of playful, but don't get carried away with the speed. And the pedaling, I would still, even in the second line where they're showing the last 2 measures with the pedal, I would stick with that pedal the first beat only. So, here. Do it with the fingers. Just be careful on the 3rd measure here because the left hand's playing an A. The right hand wants that same key for the 8th note, so get off it. You have to play it more like a staccato. You can pedal that little bit so it doesn't sound staccato if you want to connect them, but don't pedal the rest of the measure. And then back to what you do. Then in the last line there on that page 68 here, I don't pedal that run. You want to pedal the first beat to reinforce it is off, but I don't pedal any of the rest of it. I don't pedal any of the rest of that, even when I'm up here. I mean, these there's no dampers up there. You're going to get sound anyway. It doesn't matter if you pedal these too much. It does, but I wouldn't pedal any of the rest of that. And you're dying away. You want it to be soft. And then when you repeat this page, you're going to play it very soft. You see the pianissimo at the bottom? Well, they don't give you a pianissimo at the top. They should have. It should say MF-PP. Because the second time you play this, what they're saying is you're here and then medium loud. I would start at least start it soft. If you want to crescendo a little bit as you get into it, it's up to you. It's an interpretive thing, but I would not go from a very soft at the bottom to repeat back to the top to a medium loud immediately. Maybe you would if that's what you want to do, but I wouldn't. Top of page 69, medium loud here. Now this is smooth. Legato pedal this. And I am pedaling it pretty much with the right hand. When the right hand changes, I don't want to smear that. And this says più lento. You're back to where you were originally. Means slower. We're not legatissimo anymore. No. Watch the tied notes in the hands, but just keep this smooth legato through here. And then at the bottom of the page, you diminuendo a little bit, get a little softer as you're coming down here. You don't have to slow down, but so at the top of page 70, you put in this little flourish they've written in. I like to hear the rest there at the top of page 70 in the second measure here. The problem is we need to connect the left hand because we got to connect that. So we're kind of which do you want? So you're pretty much going to have to pedal that measure legato. But the first measure, I would not pedal that legato like they're doing unless you're going to pedal every beat. See? And change it on every beat there. And then on the next measure, I change it on the third beat. And then in the next line, every beat, excuse me. And in the second measure, the second line, change it on every beat. We want to lose the right hand. We want rest there, so it's here. So it's left hand by itself. Experiment with the pedal here and see if you can bring out some of these rests and things going on in the right hand without making the left hand choppy. Otherwise, you got to legato pedal all of them. And then don't pedal this part like they say to. Diminuendo, and then you're back over on page 71. They don't give you any tempo indication here, but I tend to speed this back up to where I was. Maybe not quite as fast on this other part where you did the same pattern, but speed it up a little bit. Don't keep it slow. Type thing, and then you just finish the page out exactly as you already played this once before. Just do it the same. Just make sure at the end that you die away. You don't slow down, you just die away. You find recordings of this, you'll be fine.